Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome back to the channel. This is Mufc Realist TV. Mick Ruby here, your host for today. And boy, do we have a jam-packed show to talk about. Our storyline number one, we're going to start off a little bit with the transfer market, the overall mess what's being created. John Murtaugh madness, Jadon Sancho, Anthony Martial mess. What a shambles. But of course, our main stories we're going to dive in today is Ratcliffe can enable to spend about 200 up to 300 million pounds on player acquisition. What is that all about? Well, I have a special guest in the panel that we're going to discuss, dive deeper into. But that leads to the next story of how can Ratcliffe, have more wiggle room in the FFP regulations? Our special guest will also reveal that, so stick around for that one. But for number four, it's the overall recruitment approach was centered around homegrown talent and Premier League proven players. Huh, what is that? And finally, people, the transfer market paper talk with no other than Mark. Guys, stick around, buckle up, it's showtime. It's showtime.
Welcome back to MUFC Realist TV and Beat the Press. Please stay tuned to find out these top stories with your host, Mick Ruby. Welcome to Beat the Press. Here we go.
Okay, let's go.
We are going. Let's go. And I'm having espresso as per usual. Good morning, people, or good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome back to the channel. As per deluded, I have some brilliant guests waiting to come here in the background. I'm going to introduce them soon. But of course, we're going to talk about the top stories. Of course, the main story of today is Ratcliffe to splash the cash in the summer, but nothing really to happen in the January window. Or will it? We don't really know. It's the unseen. It's unpredictable. We know we don't have any cash reserves. So where's this money coming from? It's all about player out. And that has to do with Anthony Martial, guys. Anthony Martial and Jadon Sancho. Reports came out to say yesterday that Borussia Dortmund is taking us for the ride, taking us for the piss. They're taking the mickey out of us by simply telling Manchester United, you have to pay 100,000 quid a week for Jadon Sancho's salary. Plus, potentially 200 million in loan fee. Oh my God. John Murtaugh cannot even sell a packet of crisp, even if he could, if he wanted to. That's my opinion. But also what's going on with, Anthony Martial. Links was saying that Mbappe is very close to have kind of proposed a bid on 7 to 8 million. But on the other hand, they know that he's a free agent. They wanted to make him his star man. They want him in January. But Anthony Martial is not stupid. He knows if he can sit off his contract to the end of the summer, he'll be a free agent and can take a more sign-on bonus. And at the end of the day, they asked Manchester United, could you consider to extend his contract for another year so we can have him on the loan? And then potentially for buy him. And I don't think that we are so stupid, but apparently we are. If we're going for that deal, we are so desperate to get those players out, according to my opinion. So that is kind of the story that I want to discuss with the VR. And so big up for everyone that's coming in today, guys. That is this first story. So what are you guys saying here? Let me hear from you guys. Let me hear from you. What are your general feelings and thoughts and feelings regarding this? Is there any comments there? Hola, Coca-Cola, Compost, what are you saying? They could spend more than this summer. He's really investing 300 million soon. We're going to talk about that as well, Compost. And also, what's Jeff Steele saying all the way from Adelaide, Australia? Good morning to you, Jeffy. Or is it good evening? I think we could, I think we could do with every cent of that quality striker and defense midfield to replace Casemiro, who's starting to get his age. Interesting point. Guys, park that bus or thoughts, because we're going to talk about that too later on this video as well. What else do we have here? Mark, are you with me? The producer Mark, are you controlling the chat? Major Tom to producer Mark, what do we have here in the chat room? What do we have here? Niz Ahmed saying good morning. Good morning, Niz Ahmed. How are you doing, my friend? What else do we have here? Compost Mirth, no Ashford, no Blank as a CEO, falling apart as usual. Yeah, let's talk about that. Cool and compose as well. No Champions League, no Champagne League, no Champions League Glazer budget. Yeah, currently, because we fell out Champions League and Europa, and that's why we are in the current situation. It's unprecedented. I think we lost about 70 million just for not being in Europa. Jeff Steele, I think we could do with every cent. Oh yeah, we already read these comments. Anyway, big up for all of you guys. So many of you are in here. Listen, enjoy your coffee, and let me introduce my guest for today, guys. Let me introduce to the guest. Welcome to the stage. We're calling Paul White and producer Mark. How you guys doing?
I'm not doing too bad. My camera is frozen for some reason.
No, you're not freezing. You're not frozen. You're good. It's been a hot minute, Paul. How you doing?
I'm not too bad. Cold. I'm wearing a hoodie because I'm extremely cold in this room right now.
Morning, guest Taylor. How are you doing? Yeah. How about you, Mark? You're on mute.
As usual, I forgot to unmute. I'm good. It's a good morning. Just looking at the news going around, listening to all the PR, boost that's going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The tactical transfer acumen and the essential timing of Sir Jim's investment, what it can do to benefit Manchester United. It seems so like fairy tale like right now at this moment.
It is. But let's start with the initial story. Number one, what I was talking about. Story number one about Manchester United's transfer shambles. Are we so stupid, inept, or we can't really sell a packet of crisp? Guys, we're talking about, this. In order for Manchester United to even get a loan fee in or any player, they need to get rid of the two high wage bill earners, which is Jadon Sancho and Anthony Martial. We know that's John Murta sitting there still, twiddling thumb, sitting on his thumbs. But what's your take on the stories that are coming out that regarding Borussia Dortmund? They want Manchester United to pay 100,000 on his wages and plus a 2 million or something, 3 million small loan fee. First and foremost, yes, you can go.
Oh, is he pointing for me to go? Yeah. Okay. Yes. You're totally misreading the deal. This actually puts Manchester United a net positive of about £3.54 million onto our balance sheet with this deal. Yes, because we would be spending playing Jadon, not playing Jadon Sancho. We're spending about 250,000 a week in his wages. If we play him and bring him to the first squad, that increases. So they've now sent an asset out to go to Dortmund. We're paying 100,000 of his wages, but we're getting a £3.5 million loan fee back in. So we're actually going to end up in a net positive of how much cash we're expending and bringing in, because the net, our fee for Sancho, then what we'd be paying for the next 6 months, just working out in my head, is something like 1.8 million, 2.2 million, but we're getting a £3.5 million loan fee base. Yeah. There are add-ons apparently onto that fee. If Dortmund qualify for the Champions League, we get a little bit more. If Jadon Sancho makes a certain amount of appearances, we get a little bit more. So actually, this is actually a very, very good deal in the sense that it puts us in a net positive when it comes to money being generated. Plus, also, you've sent an asset out that's not going to be playing for you. You've sent him out. He's going to be playing. If he does well, his value increases. You get more money for him in the summer. So actually, this is a lot better than what I was expecting. I was expecting us to actually send Jadon Sancho out with with hardly any loan fee, and us paying the majority of his wages. So the fact that we're not paying, fact that we're not paying the majority and we're getting a loan fee.
So it's all about the cash reserve balances at the end of the day. So you say we will be up in possible. Oh, okay. You're shaving off his wages, but we'll still be on a balanced scorecard sheet. We'll be on the plus there.
Yeah. We'll be on plus. We're also increasing the value of the asset, because if he goes to Dortmund and he does well, that means we can charge more for him in the summer. Or if he does really, really well, and an uncomfortable conversation a lot of people don't have, if it's maybe not Ten Hag in the manager seat come the summer, depending how his results go, you have an asset then that has actually been playing for the last 6 months in an environment where he's happy. So then you've got a playable asset then. So actually, to be fair, this is a lot better. I've seen us do way worse loan deals for players on high wages. If you take the Anthony situation, when we sent him to Spain, we paid the majority of his wages and we didn't even get a loan fee.
100%.
So you have to actually dig into it to actually look at the long term. This is very good for us in a sense of we're not wasting money on an asset that we have been for the previous 4 or 5 months since he's been hiatus, and we're getting a plus balance on him. Plus, if we're looking to sell him, He's playing for
Right.
Dortmund. He's
I
happy. If he does well, we get more money for him in the summer if we sell him.
When you put it like this, I thought it was Dortmund giving us the middle finger, basically saying, like, we're going to screw you up here. Like, but when you put it like this is so important when we have different voices on this platform. You speaking more of the financial terms and stuff like that. I could understand it easier because I thought it was a shambles, right? What's your opinion regarding this, Mark? Does it sort of make more sense to you right now? Or
Yeah,
certainly
initially, because I read the same article this morning, what Paul was talking about there. So initially, I was like, "Yo, don't." It looks like we're getting rubbed the wrong side again, because I usually think our negotiation staff is incompetent. I hope I'm not offending anybody, but over the last 10 years, they're just shown it to me in their negotiation strategy and everything that they do. They're just not good at their job. So it's one of those things where I thought, I'm accepting the loss either way. But when I read the entire article, I realized, it's not so bad. The points like he was giving, we could profit very well from this. And the fact is that Jadon Sancho is someone who I would say the manager had appreciated because of how he backed him last season, gave him 3 months time off, and backed him to the press when everyone was asking where is Sancho, and he kept backing him. They fell out this season for whatever reason we don't know. Anything
mm,
can be the reason, but at the end of it we don't know. So if he has to move on, so be it. But the best thing for an asset is for him to move on with the highest value. And that's always something that I think United fails at. And if we could get him playing, scoring 10, maybe 10 goals, 10 assists in the last 6 months of this season, that brings his value up. It
yeah,
benefits the club.
okay,
You know what I mean? So as long as that it benefits the club, I'm all for it.
cool. No, I agree with that. I totally agree. Fantastic, guys. That makes any sense. So good luck with that. But this been taking some times, and I just want to see this happening ASAP because the longer it takes, the longer it also takes for us even to get some reinforcements. So Jeff Steele is coming in here with the super chat, guys. Thank you so much, Jeff Steele. I can see you. Where is the super chat coming up from the comments? I'm not in charge of the comment section, Mark. What's coming up here? Do you see the super chat coming up here?
It's on the screen. Just doing a super chat mix so can buy a coffee. LOL. Don't forget to like and subscribe, everyone.
Oh
Thank you
yeah,
so
here we
much,
go.
Chef Steel. Big up to you on the Aussie dollar super chat.
It is. It is. Sorry, a little bit word blind. Focusing on. Yeah, thank you so much. $5 from Australian bucks from Jeff Steele. Doing a super chat. So thank you so much. DJ Superfly is here. There ain't a Berba coming in. The pool of players we've been in for don't have a quarter of his skills and gold up ability. Yeah, 100%. Guys, at the end of the day, like as I alluded, these two key players, if you look at one is worth 350 a week or 300, both are almost in the same range.
Anthony's 250, I think.
What's going on here?
What? I don't notice anything.
Oh, there was a notification that came very strong. That was a super chat notification. Came very delayed. Sorry about that. We are testing out our new platform, so we have to apologize. It's still in testing, guys. So anyway, Borussia Dortmund and Manchester United are in direct contact today as Jadon Sancho loan deals will finalize complete talks on final details underway. It's going to be a loan move with no buy options. So what does
Which is
that
the
mean?
smart thing. That's the
Yeah,
smart
it is
thing.
the
Don't
smart
put a
thing, yeah.
buy. Don't put a buy. You put a buy option in now. It's at a lower rate. You don't put a buy option in, and he does really well. You could get a bidding more for him in the summer. You could have Barcelona could be looking at him. Any club really could be looking at him. And even if you have a Chelsea that come in and look at him, you don't really want to sell to Chelsea, but you use that to make the price for the club you do want to sell and spend more.
Yeah.
So
No, I agree. But that's fine because that's a good strategy. With no option to buy, just imagine like Jadon Sancho goes well, he revitalizes his career, goes back to, where he started, Borussia Dortmund. Of course, he started at City, but everyone knows that he made it in Borussia Dortmund and Champions League, Jadon Sancho. And, hopefully does well for the remaining of the season. And that means that we can recuperate to sell him or maybe he's banking on that Ten Hag is not going to be there in the summer, but perhaps he's coming back to a different manager. Yeah, that's probably the best, guys. Anyway, let's move on to the Anthony Martial story as well before we go into the main story of today. Martial, Fenerbahce, did you guys hear it? potentially staying?
Fenerbahce. I heard Fenerbahce was interested in. Initially, the talk was that Fenerbahce come in with a £7 to £8 million buy option, permanent move for Martial. But lately I've been reading that they're switching up to try to get him on loan, and that is not good. I wish
That
I
is
wish the
true.
Premier League had the same rules as the Bundesliga, where if a player's contract is about to end, you cannot loan him.
That is true. Basically, Fenerbahce said he's our main man. We want him. We want him to sort of lead the lines in January. But on the other hand, there was reports to saying there was putting in a bid, and they're still negotiating. And the negotiation is that, hey, why don't you just Manchester United extend his contract? We take him for a loan and with an obligation to buy. So they know that Manchester United are desperate to offload him, right? So it doesn't really make sense. And for Martial as a player, you can say, well, I can stick around here, see out my contract, get my money worth, and leave as a free agent in the summer and get a sign-on bonus. So it's a little bit of a caveat where you have to negotiate with the buying club and the player himself. So who will win at the end? I think player will always win at the end. He's not forced to leave, guys. He's not forced to leave. It's the club that's forcing him, right? And then if there is an interest, Fenerbahce comes in there, say, what about we loan him for the rest of the season? I just don't know. I don't think Manchester United that's stupid. Or what do you reckon, Paul?
No, I don't think they are that stupid. I think that's a tactic by Fenerbahce. I don't think it's a tactic by the player, to be fair, because Martial's not been playing. He needs to get game time under his feet. Like, as much as people want to say about Martial, how bad he's been, his injury prone, he likes to play football and he still wants to try and get called up for the French team. I think he needs to move to a team where he's going to be guaranteed playing. And if you're going on loan, you're not guaranteed to play. I think they sell him. I think they get a deal over the line. Anything between clearing him off without having to pay his wages, anything between 5 and 7 million is a good price for Martial at the moment.
Yeah. Jeff Steele just coming in like a legend, gifted 5 MUFC Realist TV memberships. Big up, Jeff Steele. Big up for you, mate. Thank you so much. And all of a sudden, that's all I can say. Applause, man. Applause.
Thomas Savedas was given a membership by Jeff Steele. Ed Barrett was given a membership by Jeff Steele. Ronak Joshi, Manik Singh, Linda Worthington. Congratulations to the new members. Welcome to you all, and don't forget to thank Jeff, the legend, in the chat. Thank you so much, Jeff.
Big up, Reds. Big up, Reds. Okay, guys, I just don't know what to say about this John Murtaugh situation. We've seen it all before. Hopefully, get it over the line, because Ten Hag has been crying out to say, look, I take anyone on the market. Just give me anyone. Just please help me. Because I think he's been set up for failure. Instead of strengthening, he's getting weakened, because we are talking about loan deals of Hannibal going out. We're talking about Police going out. There's a lot of players going out and then we don't get any reinforcements. So that means, Paul, do you think that in the current situation, they are looking more on the outs and they're actually recruiting in and parking the bus to say, let's just close off the season? Play with what you got.
Yeah, and to be honest, Ten Hag is at fault for not having the options. He is totally at fault, and we had that experience in what game was it now? Totally forgot. The game that Højlund was injured. What game was that again? It was the last game, but was it not the last game before the new year?
You're talking about the game where we lost up to Nottingham Forest.
Yes, yeah, the Nottingham Forest game. Ten Hag could have easily have put Joel Hugel, a striker, on that bench and didn't do it. He put Donny van de Beek on the bench that was leaving in a week's time and didn't have Hugel on the bench. Ten Hag, yes, he's had a lot of injuries, but I have a lot of criticism, and I'm pretty sure a lot of footballing people, when they come into this club, are going to have a lot of criticisms. He doesn't utilise our youth. He doesn't utilise the talent that we produce. You're talking about Hannibal going out on loan. Of course, Hannibal wants to look to go out on loan. He's just watched Scott McTominay stink up 6 games in a row without getting a chance to start. We had Wigan at the weekend, and he still picked Scott McTominay instead of maybe playing Dan Gore, maybe playing Hannibal. You're playing a League One team, guys. So my question is, if I was looking at it in a kind of sense of, these players are talents, we're going to loan them out so they can get to play football and then assess them in the summer. Ten Hag's not using them. What's the point of keeping them around? And then And the other point is, if you're not willing to use the talent that we have available in the academy, why should we spend big money on the summer to try and save your job? You've had assets there you could have used, you didn't use them. Plus also financial reasons for not doing that there. If they don't spend any money this January, it then gives the ability when you go hard in the summer to spend a lot more money because of the way the FFP mechanisms work.
Hmm.
But
Okay.
yeah.
In a way, I kind of agree, but I kind of disagree. I don't think Joe Hegel is that good. I think he's gotten chances all through preseason. He's shown that he's not ready for the level of the Premier League, in my opinion. I don't even think Hannibal is good enough to be a Manchester United player, in my opinion. I could see why
he's better than Scott McTominay.
He's not actually better than Scott
McTominay.
No, I think Scott McTominay is not as good a player based on talent and ability as Hannibal. But what Hannibal does not have is the maturity to play a game. He gets aggravated and gets himself into trouble, and that ruins his game, and it would ruin the team. And sometimes that discipline is more important than his ability. And let's be honest, like, we have a different system going on in the club. There's so many up and downs this season. There's a lot of you that have been given chances who deserve the chances they've been given. I've spoken about Kobe Mainoo weeks before he'd been given a chance, and everyone was like, is that youngster going to do anything for United? Now, if Ten Hag puts him on the bench, everyone is sack him, right?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things for me where you have to look at it from the perspective that you have to get chance. Whether you get 15 minutes, you get 40 minutes, your chance is your chance and you have to take it. It's not about arguing where you should get more time. I think that's a little bit too empathetic at the same time, because at the same time, this is football. It's about meritocracy. If you deserve a chance, you have to prove it. Look at Garnacho. When Garnacho was playing well, everyone was start Garnacho. He started the first 2 games of the season. He didn't have 2 good games, and everyone like, he's average, get him out of here. He's not ready, blah, 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 blah. And now look at them with Garnacho. He scored a worldie, and everyone is Garnacho is the savior. He's the next Cristiano Ronaldo. So it's one of those things where you have to have some patience, not only with the manager and his decisions based on the youth, but the youth also have to display themselves and make themselves undroppable. At the end of the day, a senior player is a senior player. And like, just like people are arguing about Andre Onana, like, I don't like the fact that he's starting so many games. I don't even like the fact that he's here. But at the end of the day, he is the starting goalkeeper. And back in the day when we watched football, a starting goalkeeper might start all the games and the backup might play 1 game for the season. And that was normal. You know what I mean? So I understand the team is not doing as well and consistent. But at the same time, if you look at the difference in players that are coming to the club and who's starting right now, we didn't have the foundation of the defense from last season, so we couldn't build upon that. So we were just being in a constant changing situation throughout the league. But I mean, we're not in 10th. We've been in 6th. So
yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's just the stubbornness of it. Like, I just don't understand. I don't understand. You've anyway, played Scott McTominay. You've played him, and then Wigan comes along and you still play him.
Yeah,
it makes no sense.
I don't like that too. I just be.
Let's park this till later of the stream. We got to move on, guys. If you're watching, please give us the thumbs up. It's so important. Like and subscribe if you haven't. Do that. If you really appreciate it. We have some fantastic content, and Paul is back in the studio, guys. We're going to continue to the next story, 100%, and the next story is a Paul White specialist. I think it's basically like this one. You know what? If we go back to the story, Ratcliffe to splash the cash. Could he enable to spend about 200 to 300 million player acquisition, guys? And I want to talk to you about this one as well. So this is a story that came out from actually our brilliant Jack Talbot, our friend of the channel that we had on the channel the other day. And he wrote this brilliant piece of article that I want to talk to my gentleman in the studio, guys. So how much do you know about this one, or should I just walk you through this in general, what Jack has written?
I haven't read what Jack has written, but I've been speaking about this for weeks and weeks and weeks in spaces and to people that in DMs that ask me questions and stuff up. So I can kind of give the gist of what he's going to be saying on it, which is, the 300 million injection gives us the ability to spend a hell of a lot more money in the summer. And that's
I'm just going to start reading out the stories. It says Sir Jim Ratcliffe are Manchester United with a war chest of in this summer. In this summer, he's looking at war chest in this summer, injecting personal funds to help ease the pressure on the club's finances. While INEOS owner is currently awaiting approval from Premier League on his minority stake ownership bid, he's already putting things into place in the background ahead of the ratification confirmation. That means that he's already started to work while waiting, taking a punt. He's not going to sit around. He's waiting. This might be approved. This might not be approved, but at least we get ourselves a head start. Like, you know what I mean? So there's basically been an internal audit being conducted by Sir David Dodgy Dave Brailsford, sorry to be saying, the head of INEOS sporting team, while decide exactly where INEOS will begin their revolution and Old Trafford. We're talking about that elite of elite. We've seen Brailsford's been talking like the smiling assassin, assessing everyone's performance, not only the players, but the overall backroom staff and everyone. What you doing? Okay, you're out of here. You know, smiling assassin, if you know what I mean. This has been also mentioned. New sporting director, recruitment specialist also being targeted. Dan Ashworth, which I did a piece of yesterday. He's reluctant to come because he wants 10 million quid a year to join. And then you have Paul Mitchell, which is going to cost you anything between 5 and 10 million as well. And then you got to add on a new CEO, Jean-Paul Van Blanc, whose latest reported salary when he was at Juventus was on 12 million euros. And I'm sure in the payroll structure, the CEO is going to have a higher salary. So, guys, we are looking at adding on about 25, 30, 35 million into the FFP as that, because wages, directors, is also part of the operational spend. So that's going to eat away a little bit of the kitty. And it's going to be on the Manchester United PLC cost center as well. United currently feeling the squeeze of financial fair play. However, the club operating close to the limits consequently are through to be solely focused on loan deals in January window. So Jack Talbot saying from Football Transfers reveals that Ratcliffe has expressed his intention to provide additional investment to create more wiggling room under the FFP regulations. So what does that mean? So that means that it would be enable United to increase the allowable losses from 15 million to 105 million pounds over the relevant accounting period. Paul, that is the key take point number one, right? So that means that you can increase the allowable losses from 50 million to 150 million pounds of the relevant accounting period. So that is the cash book balance, what we're talking about. Such financial maneuver would have a significant impact on the club's spending capability this summer. The Glazers never invested in their own money into the club, and this could be a hallmark summer for the club. So Glazers haven't invested. Now, if somebody's investing in it, Talbot believes that the injection by Ratcliffe could enable Manchester United to spend between 200 to 300 million pounds on players acquisition. A budget would be look out for the place in the Saudi, a budget that would look out for place in the Saudi Pro League. Guys, that is the first part of the story, and I want to hear from you, Paul.
He's right in what he's saying. It's the economics of it. I talked about this ages and ages ago when everybody said that the Glazers won't be able to financially hold on to United. The problem the Glazers have had is, one, they haven't sold players, and two, they haven't invested their own money. And to be fair, with in United in the case, little known fact for people, it's been 38 years since an owner or anybody that has any stake in Manchester United has put their own money into the club. Even going back before the Glazers, 18 years before the Glazers, they never put money into the club. We were self-sufficient, self-run. So what you basically would do in January to get the most out of the Sir Jim money is you have to look at the situation. They're coming in here in January. They're reviewing the playing squad, the staff, manager included. Of course, they're not going to go big in January. It would be stupid to do that. Yes, you may want to save Eric Ten Hag's the job, but what happens if you throw money at him and it goes bad?
Sorry about that. Automation. We have the super chat coming in. Jeff Steele with $5 saying 200 to 300 million if sold Sancho, Marshall, McTominay, etc. Instead of loaning up players, we have a cash need and rids of clubs toxic players. Sorry about that.
I muted there when that came up.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. It doesn't show up on my screen. I apologize. I can't really remember what the last part I was on.
It was some music playing. As soon as the super chat comes in, there's some notification. I got to remove that anyway.
Yeah, selling the players, yeah, it would. But yet again, I'm sorry, and if I'm going into a business, be it football or anything like that, I'm not throwing more money at the old management until I know they can do the job properly.
Mm.
And the other thing about the January is you haven't brought in your director of football, you haven't brought in your your head of transfers, you haven't brought in any, not in your players. So why is anybody here can sit here right now and say Sir Jim Radcliffe should be given the likes of Murter and whatever his negotiation team is, maybe a budget of 60 to 70 million to spend this January
No,
to get
I don't think so.
no,
No.
because that money will be wasted. I would even, I
No,
wouldn't trust them
don't
at
give it to
all.
Murto. Don't give it to
No.
Murto, please.
So what you would find is the reason as well is any money saved now in January for free wages and everything, if that brings us below the loss line of the 15 million, that gives him more money then for the next 2 to 3 transfer windows. Because if we have no losses this year and our balance book is basically balance zero, that gives him the ability then to do a lot more in the future years. Plus, then that's 200, 300 million excluding player sales. So if you get 30 million for McTominay, 40 million for McTominay, if you end up selling Sancho for 50, 60 million, all this money adds up. And it's the way we have to go, guys. Unfortunately, I don't think we can throw. We can maybe get a couple of loan players in, but I don't see the point of throwing money in at the moment. I don't trust the people.
Makes sense, and big up for. I want to just personally thank, Jeff Steele. Thank you so much for your super chat and inspiring this conversation. So that makes sense because you if this is the question that I was looking for. What about the money? So I can see what they're trying to do here right now. In the January window, it's all about the outs. I don't think it doesn't make sense what you say, Paul. When you don't have the sporting director in to actually give money to Murto, you know what I mean? Just don't give the money to Murto. Just
also, there's another thing in as well as what people don't consider, and is this is a business deal. And as much as I can tell you, this business deal's 99.999% going to go through. If there is a problem and the deal doesn't go through, and United have committed to spend 60 or 70 million based on the fact that they're getting 300 million for Sir Jim Radcliffe, and they don't get that 300 million because the deal's falling through, United then will be in FFP trouble and probably have to get a points deduction next year. So even though the deal in my eyes and most business eyes is done, it's going to pass. They're not going to block them by them. But if there's that slight thing, you'll have the people on the board, the lawyers, the financial guys going, guys, we can't take that risk. And you have to, as a PLC, you have the fiduciary duty not to take that risk.
But this is what we're talking about. The debt in general, like the Glazers still have the debt, and the worrying sign is by 2027. I think. Yeah. But this actually balances the cash if you have an injection. But this is just going from 50 million to 105 million. So that leaves that we can actually go and have that injection and spend approximately 200 to 300 million in the summer. But what about the remaining of debt that needs to be served? Is this basically to say it's one time only, and within 18 months we will trim that squad, what we're trying to do?
You're talking about the institutional debt. Our institutional debt is in bonds. There's no way to trim that bond debt down. You can't pay that debt off until it matures. It matures in 2027. You're not allowed to if you make payments on that debt, saying if I have that 500 million debt and I go, oh, I'm going to pay 100 million off it, the bondholders are going to go, well, I'm going to lose out on my interest maturity. So if you want to pay 100 million off the debt, you have to pay me 130 million. Because they want their interest, the mature date. And it's funny, you say it's 2027, that's when our debts are up. Currently, our debts operate in 2 interest bases. The first basis is at 2.3%, and the other basis is at 4.1%. If you go to refinance debt now, you're talking upwards of 6 to 7%. So our debt is actually, it costs us roughly about around 30 million a year in debt in payments. So there's no point of doing that until 2027. But 2027 is also a significant date because that's also the date of the ending of all the protections of the 3-year agreement in the minority investment.
Okay. So that leads me to the next topic, which is story number 3 then. How can then Ratcliffe create more wiggle room under the FFP regulations up to then? And that's mean, and we're talking about right here, right now. We spoke a little bit about what about the future? Okay, this is this summer. Are they able to do a Chelsea summer?
Yes, they could if they amortize it well. Yeah, they could do it, but the question is, would you do it? Are you going to go out and spend lavishly on targets? That's the way Chelsea did it. Is they approached it from, let's amortize them up to the hill, sign a lot of young, youthful talent, not based on any kind of sporting acumen or do they fit into the team, just based on their age, their value. So if they do work out, we get a great player. If they don't work out, we can sell them on and rebalance the books again. So it depends what you're going after. It depends what your transfer strategy is. It depends who your manager is. A lot of things. But yeah, the money's there. And if we
But it
can
comes
get
down,
people out the door.
but that means that I've been speaking about it for a very long time. It's all about getting that threshold down to maximum paying players on 200k per week, nothing above. Because if you go back in January, there was even reports saying that Manchester United have an intent to put a cap on 200 a week, basically, and rest in performance bonuses. And me and Mark, we had a discussion about this yesterday, and I think it's perfectly fine because that's what you want to do, right? Money destroys football players, if you look around on other Premier League players, they're paying lesser wages. They're playing better football. But as soon as you get a paycheck on 350, you're complacent. I just rock up to the training. I can play whatever I want, but I get still paid my weekly wages. But I would say that put a cap. 150, 250 plus, put bonuses, whatever, like how many goals you assist, what you do for the team, like those KPIs, what you normally have at work, right? And then you do a performance evaluation, like Brailswood is trying to do, like marginal percentage, you do a review.
Yeah. The problem with the wages of the players is it's not even so much the problem if they get complacent. The problem is when they get complacent, it's very, very hard to move them on, especially if you're not selling any. Like, we don't sell any of our assets well. We have a very lack of selling of assets. And when you're trying to sell players from a club, you have two avenues to go down. Your first avenue is the player's really, really good and people really, really want them. The second avenue, which most sporting directors do, is they have their contacts at other clubs and go, I've got a really good young guy for you. Here's the data for him. I think he'd be fitting perfectly for your team. That sporting director lets them go, yeah, I agree. Let's talk 15, 20 million for the youth player. Yeah, done. We don't have that. We have Murder. He has no contacts in the football world, so he can't initiate then contacts with going to these other teams and going, this young player would be really, really good for your team. We don't have that. But the summer is going to be interesting. I don't think January we're most likely going to get a couple of loan signings, and that will be the height of it. And as I said, I 100% agree with that. I don't think you should allow Murder to spend the money, and then part of me also thinks I don't think
getting close. No, Jesus, no.
And I don't think of previous transfers, Eric Ten Hag's ID talent is up to scratch. I do that is a fair assessment because I think he's a great coach. He's not a fantastic manager, as in the sense of picking transfer targets. Coach. That should be go. Coach. That should go. Yeah, coach. He's a coach. I don't think he's gone into this manager role, and I think he's tried to pick the ID that he believes. But I think a lot of that ID is failed, and not what we required at the time. I think there's better options.
Can you just hold that? Something popped in because he's playing the Ajax way. Him and his coach assistant number 2, Michel van Gaag, and then of course he's got McLaren in there. McLaren is kind of influenced and they say I'm not here to play the Ajax way. I'm here to play the United way. And I said, who told you that? So do you think he's got wrong advisors whispering in his ears, just playing the devil's advocate?
I just think he's totally misread the Premier League. I think he's misread it. I think he's misread the Premier League, and he thought his way to playing could work. I don't think it has, and I haven't seen him change that system this year, and I'm starting to really worry about it. Which is the reason I'm bringing these points up is when people are talking about spending money in January and stuff like that, you have to look at what you're spending the money on. If his system looks like it's not working, is it worth spending all this money on it or moving on to a different system? So money and performance do go hand in hand. If you perform well, you'll get money. If you don't perform well, we may be getting rid of you. So what's the point of spending money on you? Because then we're into the same situation we are been in previous seasons where we spent a load of money on Mourinho, got rid of him, brought in Ole. Spent a load of money on Ole, got rid of him and brought in Ten Hag. Now, if things are going bad, do you take the risk of spending a load of money again, or do you go, let's bring in our own guy? somebody we know will play the way we want to play with these players.
Yeah,
Not the
true.
current players. I'm talking about the players they bring in.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
I would love to bring Ragnick back. He's the only one that could understand what.
amazing. But at the same time, while I agree that we should not give Murto any money to spend, I don't agree with you that it's Ten Hag talent ID. I think that's a big myth that people are talking about right now. Two things I would say to that. We can't now the manager might have a veto in power or whatever, but at the end of the day, we all know that Joe Glazer and Murto decides the transfer because they're the other two on the side of the panel, right? So we're blaming a lot of their mistakes and the mistakes of staff that was there for the last decade
No, no,
on
no, no,
Eric
no,
Ten
no, no,
Hag.
no, no, no.
One second, bro.
Oh, you're
Biggest, no,
completely missing it.
Listen, I just giving you a different, you on one side, I on the next side. And in my opinion, is the biggest failure this season, and I could say it is some of the players who was the talisman last season, like Marcus Rashford. You could blame Anthony, we could blame Anthony being 90 million, all you want on Ten Hag. At the end of the day, he still had a better season than Marcus Rashford. So if you're arguing about Anthony's been rubbish, then what is Manchester United's ideology on Marcus Rashford since we always given him a chance? He's been the worst player in our team as the most senior attacker in the squad. None of our young attackers could look at him as an example. That is an utter failure, right? So if we want to talk about Anthony and Ten Hag talent ideal, we start with Rashford first, who was here for 9 seasons. And if you want to talk about other players who have failed the club, a lot of them aren't really Ten Hag signings, right? Now, a lot of his signings have been available. Some of them haven't been performing. That's fine. Now, at the end of the day, a manager in a new league for 1 season, 1.5 season, being judged in the way he is being judged, I could say it's kind of disingenuous in a way because we didn't judge Klopp like that. We didn't judge Pep like that. We did not judge Arteta like that, right? And we certainly haven't judged Poch or the Newcastle coach Eddie Howe
Yeah,
like
no,
that, who
true.
has done worse than him both seasons running so far, right? So everybody's talking about they see what Eddie Howe is doing worse than Ten Hag because he finished below Ten Hag. He hasn't even come close to Ten Hag this season because he's been below Manchester United. Poch has been in 10th for 2 months, right?
Yeah, but that's what I want to sort of park the bus there to say. You know what? When you have too much free range, I mean, if you're a coach, you're a coach. You should just coach the team and have you say like, I need X, Y, Z. I need this talent that fit within my persona profile and persona profile and style. And then it's up to the footballing director and the technical director to discuss in tandem with the coach to say, yeah, we got it. You know, here's a list of players, and off we go. Right, and they should come back to say, look, we have option 1, option 2, option B that could fit, right? But at the end of the day, it comes down what Jarvis is also saying. It's all about having the mental capabilities, like the ballers, the visual spatial awareness, technique, mental attitude. If you can just judge by current ability, kind of rather than the paycheck. That is so important, and I think that is the next move we have to look at because nobody's been stopping any managers before. Jose Mourinho got what he wanted. Second season, he didn't get what he wanted. Throw your toys out the pram. Off you go. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was just there happy-go-lucky because, yeah, I can't believe I got my dream job. Like, it's like, whoa, you know what I mean? Go out there, kumbaya, play, express yourself, like the Madonna song. Express yourself, free-flow football, and then Ragnick came in, called a spade, to say open heart surgery. He saw the rot bubble as it is, and now we finally got this absolutely opportunity to get rid of this toxic players that we don't need because it's a bag of shit show of different managers putting out. Put this one in. It's like you're picking candy in the store. Like you take some sour, you take some sweet, you take some. I don't know, whatever, sour, salty, whatever you call it, and mix it all together. Right now is the time, and I'm happy about it. Get rid of the deadwood once and for all. Start fresh because I talked about this yesterday. What I can see here is a generational makeshift. Generational makeshift. So you see, identify certain players that could be there. Kobe Maino, Dango, Alvaro Fernandez. We have Højlund, Garnacho, all those young players, but still keep Casemiro for another to the end of the season because these players need role models, right? If you look at what Arsenal did, everyone was going like, are you mad? Why are you just playing those kids? But he was smart by doing so because these kids are trainable, they're on low wages, and they will run through brick walls for him. Not this complacent, overpaid pumpadons, prima donnas on 200, 300Ks a week, right? So there's where I say the gap has to stop. Like wage bill cap 200 maximum. I don't know what that's my say.
I mean, it's no big deal to pay players big wages if they deserve it and they earn it
If they
every game.
deserve it, but you have to have
the
a
biggest
performance
problem is
review.
that at United, for some, I don't know why, and this is defeating me, Paul. Maybe you could help me out with this one, because for some reason, you give these players these exorbitant salaries and all these, big deals and stuff like that, and then all of a sudden they just
They
flop
become
and drop.
millionaires.
You know what I mean? It's
Well,
like,
you look at the Anthony deal. Anthony was on about £20,000 to £30,000 a week. Now, I expect that his wages going to Manchester United would increase maybe to about 120, because when you get wages at Manchester United, your player image rights are built into them wages. Obviously, you're playing for Manchester United, your image rights are going to be a lot more. But no, we stuck him on 200 odd thousand, and we're willing to play 72 million. And Anthony, this is just a fundamental problem I have is Anthony's going to be sold by this new regime. This new regime is going to come in and go, Anthony is a waste, and he's going to get sold. How is Ten Hag going to take that his golden boy is going to go out the window? And this is the problem. Sorry?
If they sell Rashford, I 100% agree with that. If we sell Rashford as well first, as a matter of fact, if we sell Rashford first of all, the first player out as this regime, I will agree with any sale that they make.
No.
Because that's
Anthony,
the biggest inconsistency we have any club.
Anthony should be the first. No. Anthony should be the first one out, because Anthony sets a precedent, and the precedent is no. You have to listen. You have to listen. Anthony sets the precedent in the sense of, we've bought a player for high money, we've put him on high wages, he hasn't performed. You're out the door. That takes away the myth that would take away quite a lot of myth that's saying, if I get brought into Manchester United for a high fee and I'm put on high wages, I can just sit there, because that's the problem. If they take a loss on Anthony, it sets a precedent. Yes, you're talking about moving on Marcus Rashford, which is totally fine.
He set the precedent, and this is why it happened all along. But if you look at JADON Sancho, if you look at all these guys that came in after Rashford, they flopped just like him. He set the precedent 4 years ago. That is the precedent we need to break.
I'm a little bit conscious about time, Mark, so excuse me for interrupting to say that Hannibal Magebreeze is on 5,000 a week. Then you look at Kobe Maino, 10,000 a week. And this is what I'm trying to knit into the future. For Kundo Palestri, 20,000 a week, right? These are the players what I'm trying to knit in, and then why can't you move on Scott McTominay, who's only on 60K per week? That should be an easy sell, right? Easy sell.
They wanted 40 for them and then they got offered 30. That was the problem. I would have took the 30 and ran.
I mean, what I'm trying to say here, don't interrupt me, please, when I'm speaking, Mark. Please respect. What I'm trying to say here is that you go from an incremental model, like you when I say with generational makeshift, when you go from Hannibal Magebreeze 5K, that's where you start, right? That's where you start, and you work your way up. Rasmus Højlund is a new striker on 85,000 per week, right? So that's what I wanted to say. And I'm excuse me if you interrupting me, Mark. I need to move on in the show as well. So I just want to move on to the next stage as well. So at the end of the day, what it comes down to is, I don't mind if we ship off a lot of players, because I don't know where we're going to be in the next year or so, in the summer. So it makes sense what we discuss here, that we're not going to do anything in the January window, because it doesn't make sense where we don't have the sporting director, the new CEO, XYZ, right? Agree?
Mm-hmm.
So why give Merchant money, because he's a shambles? He can't do it. He can't even sell a packet of crisp in a flea market. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. But I feel sympathy for the manager. I feel frustration as a fan. I feel frustration for the whole team, because I want us to win. I want us to reach top 4, right? But he's been set up for failure by play with what you got, sink or swim here. And maybe that is a strategy. Maybe you're not the man for the job. Let us assess it in the summer, right? And that leads me to the next story here, by the way. That's what I want to go on to, right? And that is the overall recruitment approach. So basically, the story says the INEOS recruitment approach, and this is where you can come in and speak about, Mark, as well, because I want your opinion on this one, is to center around homegrown talent and Premier League proven talent players. What the hell?
Yet again, you're misreading the quote, guys, and everybody's been doing this, and it's been really bugging me.
Okay, talk to me.
The quote is he wants to set a core of a team to create a core of a team of homegrown talent and Premier League proven players, which unfortunately is what you need to do. Because if you're building a core of the team, you want to bring in players that you've either developed yourself through the youth academy or players that have already played in the Premier League. So when you're talking about a core of their team, you're talking about for the next 7, 8 years, the core of your team is 5 or 6 players that are all either homegrown or Premier League played players, which is a good basis. And then you bring the international talents on.
Where has
Chelsea
that
did
worked
it.
Before?
Chelsea.
Okay, how successful
Mourinho.
were Chelsea? How successful were they?
The Chelsea.
Did they dominate for 5 years? Dominate for 10 years? They win 10,
one second. You've asked me how successful. Chelsea are the third most successful team since they brought in Mourinho. The teams that are more successful than Chelsea are Pep Guardiola's City and Sir Alex Ferguson's Manchester United, and he broke it in. So setting up the core. This is about a rebuild, guys. This is a rebuild. So you need to have a core. The core is youth and homegrown talent. Homegrown talent doesn't mean British. Garnacho's homegrown talent.
Okay.
Alvin Fernandez is
Let him speak. Let him speak.
This is what I'm saying. People are misconstruing this, and the reporters are misreporting this. They're saying homegrown British talent. No, homegrown talent they're talking about is from our academy, where you have Dan Gore, you have Kobe Mainu, you have Garnacho, you have Alvin Fernandez, you have, how do you pronounce that centre back that came on the other day? I always mess up his name.
Kwambala.
Thank you. Somebody that can actually pronounce it, not me. That's homegrown talent. Premier League proven players. Premier League proven players. You're talking the likes of Declan Rice, Harry Kane. Would you be arguing if they were talking about bringing them players in?
Okay, you spoken. I mean, let me. Mark.
Yeah, go.
Stand in line, please. You spoken. You made the point clear. I understand the homegrown talent means there could be foreign players, but they are homegrown, but the Premier League proven. That is the Dan Ashworth strategy. But to have two, then to have Paul Mitchell is more intercontinental. Because what I want to see, and I think you also want to see that, Mark, to be honest, is to recruit in those cheap players like Oscar Zambrano for 5 million. Take a punt on the South African with low risk, right? South American, whatever you can bring them on and bled that in. But I do understand because you need to have the homegrown talent quota, which is I think it's about 8 players in the squad. Something like that.
It's if you name a 24-man squad, it's only 8. Only 17 of them can be have to be homegrown. So there's only like whatever else out on top
Jarvis,
of that, the 24-man.
You can read that Jarvis has agreed that if we center around homegrown talent academy, but it tells me that Ten Hag won't be the manager for long in that case, right?
I kind of disagree with that part because at the same time, the academy has changed over the last season and a half. The last 18 months, Ten Hag has been here. The academy has been remolded into his style. And we've seen that with the exit last summer of 26 young players. And the all levels are playing Ten Hag ball, from play out from the back, structure, wings down the side, overload the, the reserve team overloads on the right, the under-19s overload on the left, just like the senior team. I think the under-19 is the team that plays the most in Ten Hag's style and vision because you see most of their players coming through. I mean, I don't think it's so much as I think he's hung out to dry, but at the same time, if he uses the players that he has right now to his best ability and they perform well, I think he might just make it to top 4 and, get through to the summer. So if we even if they're waiting for a transfer spend in the summer, and the academy, it could still be under Ten Hag as a possibility. But, at the end of the day, he has to prove himself going on to the end of the season.
Okay. Guys, please let us know in the comments section if you're watching this afterhand. Drop a comment. But, guys, it's so important. We keep saying that. Please smash the like button because YouTube algorithm, it's changing, constantly changing. When you press the like button, it promotes this video and this channel to the next level and recommend this video for other Manchester United fan content, whatever, if you consume United content to be watched and recommended. So that's what we're saying. Hit that like button, please. I'm
just onto your point, somebody was saying, was it you, Mick, that we were talking about bringing the young players, the 5 million players in? that's what building a core of homegrown Premier League talent allows you to do. It facilitates you bringing them young players in, and Fergie did it all the time. You look at Real Madrid. Real Madrid did it. They had a core set of players, and they were able to bring in the younger, young-risk talent.
Stick with Charlie here, because this is where I want to park it, because this is when you say homegrown talent, and I want to see this generational makeshift. I keep reiterating, this is the fourth time I'm saying it, because what me and Mark has been talking about, Mark is a big advocate for the academy players, and he keeps saying what I also saying. We have the best academy coming up now, like, generational since 2020. The 2024 is 1992 academy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Class of 92. We have a similar kind of burst of talent coming through, and we should actually build on that. So by doing so, and that's what I was demonstrating earlier, like if you look at the wage bill, you're starting from Hannibal Magebury on 5,000 going up, and the most expensive of the youngsters is actually Hoyland, which is on 85K a week. And that's how you kind of eventually fizz those high earners out. But we have spoken about Rashford, and I don't want to speak about Rashford because it does my head in, 300K a week, right? Pounds, right? I just don't think how you're going to manage that situation. So if you're going to say we're going to fizz out all of these, Casemiros and all that, and keep Rashford because he's homegrown talent, that makes sense, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Plus, if you do want to get him rid of, if you get the team playing well again, and even if he starts to up his game and you want to then sell him, you get more money for him. Rashford's a sellable asset, way bigger sellable asset. You don't sell the Rashford off a bad season. You sell Rashford off a decent to a good season. That's when you sell him if you're looking to get rid of him. You don't sell him this year because he's had a bad season. You get low value. He has a decent season next year, and you're still looking to get rid of him. You've increased his value. He's one of them players because of his personality and his thing. Yeah. Decent season, you can sell him for more.
What is a decent season we're talking about?
All right.
20 goals?
Well
using academy.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah,
we'll not get into that argument.
We got it. We're not here to debate anymore, Mark. We're here to close off the shop as well. As you know, using the academy is the best way to create competitive culture within the team, letting the first team players know they can be replaced players that are hungry to take their place. And boom, that you have it. We spoke about this the other day, and I totally agree. Because you got to look yourself in the mirror. Like you have Facundo Pellistri knocking on the door. You have the likes of Garnacho doing week in and week out performances, and you look at Marcus Rashford, what kind of outputs are you performing? And you on bloody 300K per week. And that's why I'm saying I'm such a big advocate for clean out that and give the chance for the youth. And that is a generational rebuild makeshift. Invest in that, but add in new blood into that. I mean, when we say new blood, that means with mentality. Ballers with mentality.
100%.
That's about it. Mark, is there anything else in terms of the transfer market you want to talk about? Because I'm really conscious about time. We have 3 minutes left.
Well, the only thing
I
is that
I just want to ask one more question here, which I forgot, and that is to Paul. I started off by saying, okay, we looked at the overall how the cash injection is going to free up the budget, but what about adding on the sporting director, the technical director, and the CEO, which is approximately going to cost the club 40 million a year in salary wages.
They just become affiliates of INEOS.
Affiliates.
And their wages get paid through INEOS rather than getting paid through Manchester United.
It's not going to be paid. So it's not going to be paid on the cost center of PLC. Okay.
No. You employ them as like Blanc. If you put Blanc in as CEO, technically he's an employee of INEOS, and INEOS basically saying we're appointing him out of our affiliate, say with the club, so the club don't have to pay his wages.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you so much for clearing that up. It was such a breath of fresh air to hear your vision as well. Makes a little bit more sense, because a lot of fans are thinking what about this? What about that? But still, the question remains: we're still in debt, Paul. What about the stadium? What about the training facility? Do you think they're going to do some sponsorship to facilitate that?
What, the stadium?
The stadium, the facility, the best in class.
The stadium. for
you're
one.
saying that they are elite of the elite, the best in class. Of course, they're going to look at the training facility, the medical science
Well,
department.
that's what that 300 million injection will go into, because to get the use out that 300 million injection to use it on transfers, you have to spend it on infrastructure. You can build a world state of the art training facility with all the bells and whistles for about 40 to 50 million pounds.
Mm.
That would build that. So once you spend that 50 million, that means then the Premier League goes, well, you've spent 50, 60 million in infrastructure, so you can now go minus 50 million, 60 million in your FFP calculations. That's the way it works. The cash right now just puts the money on the balance books, but because they've legally put in the documents that cash is there for infrastructure, they can spend that money then on, they can go a little bit more into the red when it comes to transfers and our profit and loss on a year basis.
No, anyway, big up Paul for coming in, having your say, my friend. We're going to move on a little bit to the transfer market. Any updates? Any?
Martial apparently wants to stay at Manchester United till the end of the season.
Mark,
Sky Sports are reporting that.
Is that the latest Pepe talk? Sky Sports again?
As well as like Paul was saying about the core of homegrown talent, and Manchester United has been seriously inquiring about the services of Jared Branthwaite, the youngster from Everton, talented English centre back, is doing really well this season. He's also being looked at by Real Madrid, and there's said to be a bidding war about to ensue. As we know, Real Madrid have lost their main centre back, and they're looking to replace him in January now, as opposed to in the summer.
So that is a potential. What you're saying that is a summer target that is potentially available to get in January, and utilize that January, the summer kitty for January. Deduct that from the summer transfer window. Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. If there's a player that you can get in January to stop a bidding war in the summer, you get him in January, because Real Madrid aren't going to buy him in January.
No.
United may be able to pull the trigger and bring him in, because the one thing United be able to say is, look, we've got Varane, he's a little bit injury prone, so you're going to get game time for the rest of the year, and he's going to go, okay, I'll go.
So what about the Todibo stuff? I mean, is that him or Todibo or?
Well, the Todibo stuff right now, as we know, they just refused a £35 million offer from Spurs, so they basically said they're not taking that. The issue is, if that's the competitive market value, would United pay the same 35 million, and would they accept it, or would we have to pay, the express value, which is £50 million on offer?
But guess what? I'm starting to think that they're going to do an interchange in the summer or something like that. They're going to probably use, I don't know, Leon.
Nick, I'm going to leave you here, mate. I need to disappear, okay?
Yeah. All right, cheers.
Man.
Thanks, guys. For having me on, guys.
Thank you for having on. Big up, smash a like for Paul.
Thank you later, Paul.
Yeah, so what I'm trying to say that, that is a little bit dodgy, right? You know who is the owner of Todibo, and they can easily do like, no, you reject everything, you're going to United. In return, they can give you Martial back to France or something like that, with a little bit of a cash in between.
You never know. This is the complexity of this new ownership, this new investment that's coming into the club. It opens a whole new door of things and possibility that could be happening, because you could see 3-4 players leave from Manchester United and go across to Nice, and see 2 or 3 players come back across in exchange. Players like Scott McTominay, who we think should be in the shop window, should be being sold already. You never know. You might hear him go across to Nice. Same thing with Harry Maguire. No one ever knows what might happen. You know what I mean? Johnny Evans. There are lots of things and possibilities that could be happening. Even young players might make the move across to Nice. You never know what's the possibility there. So I keep open to it. I'm not sure it's going to be 100% positive. Like I keep saying, I'm looking forward to see how things progress right now.
Yeah, let's see. Big up for everything. I don't hear anything else on the transfer market more than we desperately need to offload some players in order even to get a loan deal. So I haven't heard anything. Striker, I haven't heard anything. Nothing.
The only other thing I heard, I've only hearing about defensive players, to be fair, and the next defensive players that we have reported as, they have deposited a $44 million offer for Giorgio Scalvini, who has a $44 million release clause. So that's one of the things. But at least these things cost money. So I'm just mentioning it as it's news, but at the same time, I'm questioning where's the money coming from. So until the ratification happens, you're not sure and you don't know what
Yeah.
and what is going to happen.
Charlie, you were just saying that this was reported yesterday. We started off to saying that this is kind of them stupidity to say. I mean, I think Galatasaray is teasing a little bit like, what about you loan us Martial for 6 months and we might take him in this summer? And that's why they're thinking to extend his contract for another year to increase his value. And that's just stupidity. That is just stupidity.
I don't
So
think
Sky
his value
Sports,
will increase.
so Sky Sports is apparently running with this story as well, which I don't think we will do. But if we do, then we are stupid. I don't know. We are stupid. Anyway, for a little bit of a money, just because his contract is running out at the end in the summer. He can go for a free. Are we that giddy? Are we that stupid to extend his bloody contract
I
again?
mean,
Jesus Christ.
I kind of think we might be, you know what I mean? It's Murtaugh. Like, as much as I think it's gonna negatively affect Ten Hag, maybe might not be greatly, but I think we can't give Murtaugh any more money, man. The guy just does madness.
Yeah.
Everyone talks about the Murtaugh madness, but it's like the madness
Yeah.
in the bad sense.
I agree
Negative.
with what Stephanie's saying. January will be 31 days of hyped United speculations. And that is the reality. That is the reality. Anyway, guys, I think we run over time, Mark. And yeah, it's been unusual content, heated debates. I like that. And sorry if I cut you off, but I'm just conscious about time. So, in other words, if we summarize, if this is ratified, what Ratcliffe is trying to do is to do an cash injections, which leads that since the Glazers hasn't done it ever, that means that we are lowering down so we can actually increase the spendings, the FFPs, and that is a good sign. That means we can have a summer spending about 200 to 300 pounds per week, right? Millions? No, not millions. I can't even say it. 300,000 pounds per week, right?
The
But
only
I don't.
thing for me,
I
yeah, the
think we
only
will.
thing for
I think that will if we have 300 right
me,
pound 300,000 pounds in the summer. I don't think we
200
will spend.
million.
Is it? Oh yeah, 300 million pounds in the summer. I don't think we're going to spend it in one summer. You got to spread it out, right?
This is the thing I was just about to mention. So that's why
Mm.
I'm thinking, it sounds amazing and all to have 300-400 million to spend in the summer, but when clubs know you have money to spend, they know they can keep the prices stiff on you. So maybe we should exercise some of that spending now in January, where
Yep.
where people don't think we're using the option. You know what I mean?
Yep.
A lot of players are not expected to move. Maybe we move in for some players to stop the bidding wars in the summer.
Yeah. Here you complement what you're saying. Charlie's saying sell Marshall for £1.
I agree.
And you agree, George Bestis agree, Madhouse, what you're saying. Martial he's waiting for Fenerbahce's golden handshake in the summer. And that's what I believe he will do too, because nobody can really force him out, right? Uh, you can wait your contract out and go as a free agent, take on the signing bonus and ciao, out of it there too. Like what Mbappe was trying to do as well. He
Or
was always destined to go to Real. Don't get me wrong. That story won't go away.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm not a Real fan, and this is not really big news for Manchester United, so I wasn't going to mention it. But there might be a spoke in that. There might be a problem with Kylian Mbappe to Real Madrid in the summer, which might see Kylian Mbappe available to a Premier League move. And this is because, well, the problem is Man City put a 85 million pound transfer release clause on Erling Haaland. And well, you know how much Kylian Mbappe is about to cost Real Madrid, somewhere in the region of 200 million pounds. And what
Ah.
if they go for Erling Haaland, pay 85 million pounds, and give
So
him
when
50
is the
million
release clause up for?
this summer?
So anyone can come in and pay that
85
release.
million pounds and get Erling Haaland in the summer.
Would you?
But it
Would you
can
pay?
be it has to be a club outside of the Premier League.
So United cannot come and pay his release clause. No. All right. So he's destined to go to Real Madrid then.
Well, I mean,
But who
it's
would
one of
take
those
this?
things.
Mbappe is too expensive. He's one of these commodity players that nobody can afford, and everyone is squeezed by FFP. And those days are over. So he's struggling. I think he would struggle 100%. The robot is going to Madrid. What you're saying, 100%, 100%. And George Best is saying, and DG Superfy, they'll tell him to pay the rest to Martial wages, and they can have him 100%. Anyway, guys, listen, Mark, it's been a fantastic show today. We went over the time, and we had fun. We spoke about a lot of things. We cleared the air. We understood a little bit better. But the thing is, the stadium is still not fixed. The facility is still the same. Glazes are still here. Murta is still running the show. And the so-called visitors have not been ratified as approved as of yet. That is the only real thing that we know right now. And we know that we don't have money for the transfer market, so we can just dream on. Sell Martial, loan him out, Jadon Sancho out, and that should be it, And we should play, because we got to compete. We got to play football for the remaining of the season. Start against Spurs on this weekend. Is it Saturday or Sunday? Is it Sunday, right?
I believe it's on Saturday. If I'm not
Saturday
mistaken.
football. Cool.
It's one of those things where I say we have a long season ahead of us. We have the rest of the season to go. These last 18 games are spread apart over the next 4 months. And, we have just the league and FA Cup. Let's hope the guys could show up and give some performances.
Yes. Right.
The manager gets it right.
Right. Well, anyway, 755k per week, and we are playing Saturday according to what Compost Smurf is saying. Listen, big up for you coming in, Mark, as well. It's been a pleasure as per usual. It's time to close the shop, so we got to say goodbye to the people. Thank you, Jeff Steele, for donation of all your memberships and the super chats. Everyone that's coming in, Stephanie Griffith for moderating. Big up the legends in the chat. I hope you have a fantastic Wednesday. I think it's Wednesday today, if I don't remember it.
Certainly it is.
Yeah. But anyway, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe to the video. We are on the road for 21,000 Ks. And please, like it. And that's about it for today, guys. That's all, folks. That's all we have to offer for today. See you to the next video. And perhaps we'll see you later on tonight. Thank you for watching. Bye for now. Bye for now.
That's all, folks.
Thank you so much for stopping by and watching MUFC Realist TV. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow us on the socials.